The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to the Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here a guest. His name is JD Murgolo, and I am excited to speak to him. We are going to speak on being a stay-at-home dad, and I find this interesting. So JD, he's a husband, a father, fond of fragile moments, writer, storyteller, coach, host of What's Your Story podcast, and a mental health speaker. That's a lot. I'm sure he does more. So that's what we got today for you.
I don't know what I do most.
JD, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jade.
Thank you so much for being here. So I want us to talk about this exciting topic. What inspired you to become a stay-at-home dad? And how has your experience differed from traditional gender roles and expectations?
Inspired. I don't know if I've ever been asked that's a great question. What inspired me? It's if I could just go back to just the decision to become parents, it's my wife and I are just just kind of a see what happens, kind of go with the flow. Like neither of us can tell you that we were, let's have kids, or, the complete opposite of like, that's not happening. It's a matter of like, what felt right. And it's the same as just to what, we both do in our lives. We were both middle school Montessori teachers for about 10 years. And so we had this like, aspect of, what it is to be around little human beings and be involved with their development. But you get to just say like, at the end of the day, like you're going home to somebody else. Hopefully what I said meant something to you, but in the end, like your parents are going to be involved. So it was there, but it's really, we didn't have this sit down conversation. Well, who's going to be and I hate this term, but it is unfortunately the term that I guess they give you is the default parent, so to speak, the one that's, going to be at home all the time, or, when kids get sick that, it's you that's going to be there and this one's going to go off to work. We didn't have this huge conversation of like, like who's going to do it. It was really just, my wife's job. So she's an oncology nurse and her job feels way more important than mine. And I love that. So we really just kind of were like, well, yeah, like I'll be at home. So we have a 3-year-old and we'll call her a 1-year-old. She's about to be 2 in July, but for the sake of simplicity, she's a 1-year-old for now. But when our son was born, it was just kind of, we'd have these conversations about, that's going to be 3 days here. And thankfully we have parents that moved closer to us just to be around him when he was born. So we were kind of juggling things like that. But at the same time, I was like, well, no, like don't inconvenience them. Like I'll be at home. I'll do it. Whatever it was, whether it was, somebody had an appointment or, grandma, couldn't take care of our son like she normally would. It was just a simple, like, okay, well, just switch days. Like, it's maybe not the normal Tuesday, but just switch days. So it's always kind of been that ease as far as being this, the choice of being the stay-at-home dad. I don't know if inspiration, was
Mm-hmm.
at first, but it's certainly grown into that being the case. Inspired and motivated and determined and all those kind of like moving forward adjectives, I guess, that go along with parenting in general.
Right.
But I guess more specifically being the stay-at-home dad, because while it's a lot more, it's a lot more prevalent, it's certainly still not the norm and certainly comes with its own, stigmas still. That's where that's where the real crux of, calling whether it's inspiring or not,
Or
it
not,
comes
yes.
from, for me, is that really.
Oh, we're gonna get into some of those stigmas.
Yeah.
Can you share some of the joys or challenges that have
Yeah.
encountered on a stay-at-home dad?
I mean, the joys are certainly the obvious, that I get to be the one that spends so much time. I get to watch these moments of development, with our son. I mean, he didn't go to a school until he was about 2. And that was really, again, just, kind of felt right. Like we didn't want to just be like, okay, well, I've got better things to do. And I want to find my time again. Like I need my me time. Like it's not enjoyable that, you don't get to, do all the things that you used to do before a kid, but it certainly wasn't like, okay, we got to get to this point faster because like he needs to be out.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't leave me being there 3 days out of the week for almost 2 years. And even now, like they both come home from school, by like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And my wife doesn't come home until almost, 5, a little bit after there, give or take, but it's still, me that's there, and even in that short shot, it's a lot, it's making sure they have snacks, make sure we're, I'm doing what they need, to unwind when they come home. So it's still there. It's just a little less. But when I really get the chance to sit back, like the things that frustrate me are still the things that I enjoy. The challenges were just, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, and I never will know what I'm doing. And that's great. But the challenges were inside me. It's never been, like they're not, going to bed, when you'd like them to, or why are they not eating as much, and all those little things that you see. So again, the parents complain about. To me, those are just like, that's there, like that's gonna always be there, and you can't give them a hard time about it. They're human, and they've got the skills. They've got skill sets that are lacking, just like I do. So it's like, I'm picking on them about not falling asleep, it's on time. Have you seen what I do at night? It's like, can't. So the challenges have always been internal for me. One, just accepting the fact that this is not just my role, but the fact that it's actually like, worth it. In the sense that, it's invaluable, and it's something that's invaluable now, but they don't realize it that much. Of course not. But once they really look back and like somebody finally tells them, like, and hopefully society switched by the time they are, but maybe not, that, well, who was home but mom, were you home? No, your dad was. And like, that's when the light bulb will go off. And that's when I get to like maybe feel exactly what, I should be feeling now. How rewarding it is. That's the challenging part, I guess. But that's partly me. And that's partly, society that looks at it like, wait, what? And like, you're at home? Like, you should be out home, like making all the money. Like, you should be home taking care of the kids. And, that's the struggle really. In the end, when I sit back at it, it's like, I get joy about it. Like, I love like being the one, I can remember walking around, with our son in the stroller, and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And yeah, I'm the only dad on the trail, walking with my kid. It's a bunch of moms. And it's like, no, this isn't my day off. Like, this is
right.
I'm doing this like every day. And like, I felt internally rewarded, but you can definitely feel sometimes it's like, well, wait, what? Like, that's silly. Like, why are you home all the time with them? Like, don't you have better, So it's like,
I'm going to jump it though.
Yeah.
In terms of that, I'm going to jump it here to say, I think you're breaking the stigmas that fathers are not there for their children.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it. I mean, I was just like, it was like a week or two ago. And it was just a random like social media account. And it was like, and it became like I began maybe because I like stopped and paused on the video long enough for the reel, and like other like ones similar to it popped in, but it was a bunch of videos all in the same vein that, it was like a picture of a dad, like he's sitting there kind of like, pretending like he's thinking about all these things, and the words were popping up like, am I being a good dad? Am I making enough? Am I, all these like worries that like dads are supposed to have, or husbands in general. And like a voiceover comes in, and like somebody's like asking him if he's okay. And then he just says like, I'm fine. And like the narrative, that it's saying, and the caption's always underneath, no matter how many words the person chose to put under or not, was that like, that's what we're supposed to be as, not only just men, but, fathers, and whether that's a stay-at-home dad or not, is that like, we're just supposed to say like, we're fine. And I was just like, I was dumbfounded, and I tried to do my own version of it, but the opposite, that when somebody asked me if I'm fine, I'm like, no.
Exactly.
That's it right there, that it was just, that's kind of where we're at. Like, there's so many accounts that are, and so many people that are changing the narrative, just like I am, with a much larger platform, but it's still almost okay for us to look at it, just, look at it just, as a male, just leave it at the bottom level before even a dad, that like, it's okay to be like, not okay. And it is, but it's like, you can also say that you're not okay. That's the next step.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope that I gain personally for myself as a father. And then hopefully my kids see that. And I start to see that already with my 3-year-old. Like, he's figured out like what the word missing you means. We've never told him that we miss him, but you can see that he's in tune with emotion. And sometimes he gets it completely wrong. Like, he tells us that he's sad because he needs to poop. And we're like, well, I don't know if that's sad. But does your body like, he understands at least that his body is talking to him, right? Mm-hmm. So you can already see that me just telling him sometimes, or even my wife, will tell that it hurt our feelings, and he, or whatever it is, like, that makes me happy, that makes me sad. We talked to him at the end of the night, like, what was challenging today? What made you happy? What made you sad? We talk about those things.
Yes.
And so it pops up. And so that's the first, if you want to call it, influencer that I want to be, is for them. And then after that, it's changing that narrative, that it's like, wait a minute, like, you have, and these are larger platforms than me. And I'm like, you had a chance to sit there and say, no, I'm not okay. Like, I'm struggling as a dad, struggling as a parent. And I think so often we get that wrong, that like, we tell people that parenting is hard, and then it's just like, okay, we said it, and then we leave it alone. And we shouldn't be, we should really be sticking with that and saying like, this is hard, but here's why, and here's what we can talk about as well. And here's what we can do about it as well. Rather than just like making fun of it because your kid doesn't fall asleep on time, or, hasn't learned a certain skill that you're an adult and obviously know how to do. And, so it's those things that become, those are the real challenges for me as a parent. Is the internal part of it. Yeah. The rest of it, while they may frustrate me, day in and day out, it doesn't, because I'm the kind of person that I'll step back and I'll end my night, thinking about the fact, like, man, like, yes, I apologize to him because I got a little upset and I shouldn't have, but what can I do tomorrow? Like, he's going to say the same thing. He's going to do the same thing, but what can I do differently to change myself, so that doesn't happen again? And I think as dads, we have to be better at that. Not to say that, parents in general, but we're the ones that are notoriously not in tune with our emotions. So all those conversations about regulating yourself and learning to regulate yourself when your child gets upset, they're really directed at us as dads.
Yeah.
In the end, unfortunately, and that's okay.
Yeah. So the mental health aspect of it, I think the mental health aspect of it, I think people don't generally want to speak about or go into too much detail when they say, this frustrates me as a parent in general, mother, father, because of the stigma. People are going to say things against them. Because the truth is, you can speak as a dad. Sometimes kids will frustrate you.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, why are you saying that your kid's frustrated? But sometimes, and I mean, I can say this. Sometimes I'm realizing people who have that response are not parents,
Yeah.
and they make it seem like parents are doing something bad by saying these things. But it's true, and as I said before, even as dads, it's not enough to just say, you're thinking about these things and these things are
Yeah.
bothering you, but you say, I'm okay. You're not okay.
You're not
And this
okay.
is why you have a lot of mental health problems with
Yeah.
men. A lot of men, a lot of women, but men. Men don't speak about things because they're afraid of the stigma that's going to be attached to them.
Yeah.
So they need a safe place. Fathers need a safe place also to express themselves, to talk about what's happening, because
Absolutely.
inadvertently what's going to happen is that it's going to be directed on the kids. They're going to be so frustrated. Your spouse is going to feel it. Your kids are going to feel it, and then you're not going to feel like you're a good dad.
Yeah.
When you're just frustrated, you're just tired, and you also need to sit and feel how you're feeling and give those feelings names.
I think that's a great point, because that's a thing that we see it, we know it's there, we you see it talked about enough, but it's like the conversation, it's just like, it's like at the awareness stage, like, you hear all these fun catchy phrases about, like I said, the one like, it's okay to not be okay, or like, all those like fun mental health phrases are like, stuck at the awareness stage of all this stuff. And it's like, okay, like, we are aware, as of what's going on. Like, what's step 2 now? What do we do?
Yeah, what's step 2
about that? And I think that's the people that are going to be successful in getting people's attention and changing the narrative understand that we've said it long enough that you could fit any societal, cultural, like, snafu, whatever you want in there. It's the same thing. Like, we've talked about enough. What's the next step? And those are the things that are going to get moved forward. Those are the things that are going to start changing, because somebody realized, like, we are aware, we do need to do something about it. And this is, to me, this is the one that in my life is important. But all I did was transfer me as a human, me as a male, me as a husband, now into me as a dad. It's the same. I'm still JD. I'm still a human being. It's just there's now a new chapter to this. But it's the same. Still need to pay attention to the same things. And then there are things that if you had told me 5-10 years ago that I'm going to just use my son as the example, because the daughter is, well, she's only 1. She's like 12 in reality, but she's not at the same, like, stage of development as he is. But then she's also a different human being, so you let him learn everything all over again. But if I just look at him, and he and I's personalities are very similar, he teaches all those things that, like, they tell you that kids teach you, more if you just pay attention. That's what I love. That's the part that's annoying and frustrating and challenging, and makes you want to pull your hair out. But in the end, if you just stop for a second, it's like, well, hold on, like, he has no idea. He has these big emotions with no way of describing it. Why am I faulting him for, crying over the fact that I peeled the banana the wrong way? Or why am I faulting him for getting upset that, I'm Mr. Neat Freak when it comes to, like, cleaning up. And I've learned very quickly with him, very young. Even if I put the smallest thing that looks out of place, to me, it's got a perfect spot. But these small things that, like, make them, like, in art, I hate those terms, like tantrums or blow up. Like, they're not like, they don't know how to do it anything else, right? But to me, like, those are the moments that I need to fix, and I'm 43. Am I going to be able to fix all these things overnight? No, but I at least am aware that I need to. And so the next time something that like that happens, I learn to ask him, differently. Do you want to move this by yourself, or can I bring it into the room and put it next to your bed before you go to bed? And sometimes he lets you, sometimes, like, he still gets upset because he wanted to do it by myself, even though I asked him, but it's like, I figured out a better way to say it. And, it's going to take a long time, even for him, to figure out, or, just any kid.
The truth, when you say that, I'm thinking on it. And I'm saying the truth is, it's still two human beings, whether we're adults or children,
Yeah.
it's still two human beings coming together and learning each other's language.
I take out
And
the
we're
fact
not
that I'm
gonna
talking about a 3-year-old. Like,
Okay.
I could be talking about a 13-year-old or a
Okay.
30-year-old or a 300-year-old. You know, like
Okay.
it is. It's the
The
exact
dynamics
same.
is the dynamics is gonna change, and we're gonna have to learn how each other speaks.
Yeah.
So we may even think that we're doing the right thing, but the other person is still acting out on it because to them we're not doing the right thing. So
Right.
it's constant. It's a constant trial and error.
That's hard work. That's a hard pill for people to swallow because it's like, why is this not happening? And that's where all these like, you know, life hacks and do it yourselves and everything else comes to parenting. I'm like, newsflash, like you can't hack parenting.
No, you can't.
You know, anything. And I wish that like that was like good heads up that somebody should have given me when it came to like, you know, reading like any bit of parent advice, but thankfully I picked up on it quickly. They should have put either a disclaimer at the bottom of the article or the book or whatever, or even just a paragraph, you know, in between or parentheses, something small that as you're reading whatever it is about your kid, you know, they said like, this may not be your child. Like that simple statement right there.
Yeah.
Releases so much pressure because then you're getting 10 times even more pressure. Oh, well, hold on.
Yes.
Like this lady just said that if I do this,
it's going to work.
You know, he's going to eat, you know, the green bean or sleep better. No. And that's not because your child did anything. That's not anything because you did anything wrong.
It's just like you have a different child. The child
it's just a different child, right? But, you know, it's just a good life lesson, you know, like you learn to speak, you learn to slow down and speak to, you know, people differently. Like instead of getting frustrated with, you know, the cashier for whatever they said or did, or the customer service representative, you learn to realize like, you know what? I came in blazing and I was pointing my finger at them and telling them they did something wrong and I should be, you know, like, that's what I'm getting from him.
And figure out how is it that I came across with this message to you?
Yeah.
And how did you receive it? Sometimes if we stop and do that,
right,
all other things will be fixed.
It's. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like I mess up like constantly, but that's the one thing, if anything, I can definitely tell you I'm good at as a dad, as a parent, as I'm the first person, and my wife will tell you like sometimes we talk like ad nauseum about stuff, and then you're like, hold on, we're doing this, we got to stop, but we at least are observant and going, you know what? And, you know, she'll be the one to tell me sometimes. And is that frustrating? Sure. Cause I'm an adult and, you know, I'm like, like I'm in my 40s. Like I don't, but I do the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I know. I got way too upset and I shouldn't have done that to him. You know, but that it's a realization of that. And it's a realization that that moment is not going to mess your kid up for the rest of their life. But you do need to be pay attention to it. Like, what can you change? And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it really is like just the stage that they're at. And all you can do is just be calm and compassionate and as graceful as possible. Our son is, I'll give you a good example. Our son, I don't even know where it came from, somewhere at school, like because he's at a Montessori school, and of all the things that Montessori does great, it's the one that is always loved, that I've always loved, is a multi-age classroom. So he's got 3, 4, 5, and I think maybe 6-year-olds as well. I don't know if they transition after 6 there yet, but he's got multiple ages and multiple families, multiple styles of parenting coming in there. And so somewhere along the line, there's conversations. It must be like a superhero conversation, because it's not from us. They talk about like bad guys. And the first time he said it was like, what? Like, where did that come from? But he gets the context correct. And it used to be like, you know, it could be like, we kind of chalked it up. Like he'd start saying it when he was tired, which at the end of the night, like you'd ask him to, let's just say like, you know, clean up something, or can you come in here to get changed or whatever? You're a bad guy. What? No, I'm not. I'm just asking you to brush your teeth. Like, hold on. But then as you start to pay attention to it, he is getting it correct. Sometimes, a lot of times in the right context, like but it's a different context than what we think. Like we hear that and I'm like, no, I'm not a bad guy. Like I'm not yelling at you. I didn't hit you. I didn't throw it. Like all these things that would make me bad. To him though, I hurt his feelings. And again, that could be something as simple as like, can you get your shoes so we can get ready to leave? You're a bad guy. And my wife, it was my wife's turn to be in the room last night. She was helping our daughter fall asleep, and he's right there, right in the same room. And I'm watching on camera as she's telling him, like, I just need to help Caroline fall asleep. And I'll be over there in just a second. You're a bad guy. Mom, trying to get her attention. Mom, you're a bad guy. But she wasn't bad. He wasn't mad at her. His feelings were hurt. So what you learn there is that, like, okay, like, I don't like that you said that, but hold on. If I step back even further, what did I do differently? How can I change this? Like, now that I'm like, so I look at him when he says that, I'll get closer to him. I'll get down to his level. And I'm like, I understand that I hurt your feelings. Can you tell me what hurt your feelings, or what bothered you? What did you not like? And sometimes it is just that he's tired. He really had no clue that he called you that. But a lot of times I asked him to do something, quickly, or, he was in the middle of building something or reading something, and I didn't hear the plan from Mom that once he was done with that, then he would do step 2, I was out of the room or something like that. So it's that it translates to a lot of things when it comes to parenting and life. What did you do to disrupt the flow for that person? In this case, especially a child, because you have to throw out your definitions of humans for a second, because and understand, like, he's not calling you bad, or he's not sad that he has to poop. His body is talking to him. It's your job now, Dad, to tell them what that feeling meant, or what that is. So we sometimes, if he gets it wrong, we'll look at him like, do you know what that word means? Yeah. Right. What does it mean? Right. I don't know. Can you tell me? So Daniel, then if you don't know what it means, like, I wouldn't use that word. Here's what it does. So it's like, I could do that for the rest of my life with him. And to me, that's the beauty of a parent. And that's the beauty of what I do as a dad, that I'm so very in touch with my emotions. I love that. For better or for worse. But I'm not going to sit here and make my wife, make my kids, make my mom and dad, my brother, whoever, guess. Because I'm not gifted tomorrow. And I want to make sure that my interactions with them today are ones that I can sit comfortably with at the end of the night, so I want, if anything, I gift them that in tune with their emotions. And it's wild to see that if you just have those conversations, what that changes. I mean, he's going to grow up to be, like, a world changer for sure, but he's going to be so much more prepared, life skill wise, because he understands that emotions are important. His emotions are valid, and she will the same once we get to that point. Right now, she just tells you no at everything, but it'll be the same. We'll have those same conversations. And man, if I look at them, if they were, my age now, and like had that upbringing in the world we live in, where it's like so closed off, and we need those conversations about emotions, man. So, as parents, if we can think about that, and, if you're a dad, especially, man, what does that change for everything? Just that one simple ripple, right?
On that note, I think we'll probably can't end this podcast. That was so good. That was so good. Oh my goodness.
I promise you, I don't have any notes. Like,
no. That was
like, what can I say to blow people's minds? Like, this really,
that was really,
I think way too much, but like, this was
really, really good.
This was day one for me. Like, so you mentioned I like one podcast. I actually host 3 different ones, but the one of them, and they're all storytelling, whether that be music or just life. But there's one called Dads Cry Too. And it was literally from day one that crossed my mind that this conversation was not happening with dads. And it wasn't happening with parents. I watched as my wife, thankfully, like, I know that she's strong emotionally too, but they give you this silly little questionnaire in the hospital to check your mental health. And I mean, she looked at me and was like, I'm filling it out for her. Is there, our son was sitting there, not even a day old. And I think one of the questions was something like, in the past, I don't know, something ridiculous, like 12 hours or something like that. Have you been sad or cried or felt depressed? And she just looked at me. She's like, please don't say yes, because I know what's going to happen if they say yes. But it was such a silly question to the both of us, because like, hello, like 12 hours? Like, yeah, I did all 3 of those things, like, that's not a check on my mental health. Like, what are you going to do a little bit later? Right. But then, of course, like, I'm not saying this in the sense like, oh, woe is me, but did you ask me how I felt? Like, I could be freaking out.
Anything, actually.
You
The
know, like
fathers
you
are
could be,
not asked anything.
yeah. I mean, the only questions I got was checking to make sure that I'd I was the dad, and if I, if I was, or if I was, I don't even know what you called it, but it was like just, basically like you were the caregiver. Like, did you have any conversations? Like if you weren't married, basically asking like if you're married or not, and like you wanted this child together. I'm like, holy crap.
Yep.
That's a reality, sure, but whoa, hold on, like,
Yeah.
there's bigger questions before that for a second. Like, I may not be okay. Like, I may be freaking out too. And I don't want to like make it. That's a tough line too. Like, I don't want to be in this day and age where it's like, well, hold on, like this guy's just talking about like men's health matters, and I'm like, it does, but
it does.
I'm not saying in the sense of like, look at me, don't look at her. Like,
no, but it's both parents.
It is. Yeah. Because if I'm not, then she's not.
Exactly.
If she's not, then I'm not.
Exactly.
At least in a healthy relationship, right? Yeah.
Oh man. That's something.
So it's that, and those conversations are certainly there. You see them all the time, like talking about regulating your own emotions. Like if your child, angered you about something similar, something frustrated you, like they're there, but sometimes they're one-sided. Like the stay-at-home mom, like, well, there's a stay-at-home dad. You could just be, can we just call it a stay-at-home parent? Because both things are possible.
Yes.
And it's like, one person has the potential of being way out of line with their emotions more than you both do. Because I don't know if I finished that statement earlier, but like if you'd asked me 5-10 years ago, like if I was going to get upset by the fact that my child was like playing around, like eating food, I would have probably looked at it knowing that I was a teacher, and granted they were middle schoolers, so they were playing with their food on a whole different level, but I probably would have just been like, well, no, these, 2, 3, like, of course they are. But all of a sudden it's like, what are you doing? Like, can you just take your finger out of the milk? Like you need to sit here and like, so you catch yourself and you're like, oh, whoa. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you upset about this? Like, what is that? And so this is, as a cause for like a therapy session, not necessarily, but
I think it's because we're in it now.
Yeah, where in your head why are you upset about it? What really is bothering me about that? And for me, it's the worry that like he's, like he's not going to get enough to eat. And is he? Yeah, he'll be fine. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? He's going to wake up and eat something before bed, And so it's like all these little things that like bug you, and you're like, well, hold on. But that's what they're not telling, they don't tell you. They just joke about it. Like, here's a hack, like for helping your kids, like eat better or listen at dinner. No, there's no hack for it. Like, that's just where they are at that age. And like, it's your job to just, redirect the conversation, or be, aware of what they're like, what's actually going on. That's my favorite question. If you want to talk about a hack, sit down and look at you. I don't care what age, like whether they can answer you or not or understand. Ask them what's bothering them.
Cool.
And then think about that. Like if they understand that question now, wouldn't you like to be asked if, what's bothering you when you're upset? Man, that like throws him for a loop sometimes. He looks at me like, what? Did you just ask me like this really important question? Yeah. So here it is, Dad, like, but think about that as an adult. Like if somebody, like if you were losing it all of a sudden and somebody just looked at you very calmly and was like, Jade, what's bothering you? Why just upset? No, seriously. It's not that. Like, what's really bothering you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I woke up and I had this feeling like I'm worried about, there it is, so it's like, gosh, and we just forget that they're just tiny, but they can do the same things, we just have to let them.
Man, that's a lot to sit on now. That's a lot to sit on. I want you to know, because I believe you answered all my questions. And it's such a great conversation to have, especially with fathers. I'm hoping that a lot of fathers and moms will listen to it and get understanding from the father's perspective also. Yeah. And even healthcare persons out there listen to say, probably we need to still ask the fathers, how are you? Are you okay?
That's it.
And that was the moms. JD, what is it that you do to prioritize self-care and maintain a sense of personal identity?
At the end of the day, right? That's the big question. I love seeing that too. Like, here's how to, get your workout routine in there and do all this. And to me, like, yes, that's frustrating that your whole life changed, but I think for me, it was realizing that, like, all those things, about, like, you're not going to get a lot of sleep and you're not going to get to do all the things. Like, it's not so much that, like, all this got taken away from you. It's not that at all. Like, you just have to be aware that, like, your time needs to be sorted differently, and that's going to be out of whack for a moment. It's been, a couple years since I've run as much as I want to, and I ache more than I need to. But what it's caused me to sit there and go, okay, well, let's find something that grounds you just for now, knowing that eventually you get there. So mine are very simple. My end of days are the same. That comes with a cup of matcha green tea with turmeric in it. Every other day I sit in a journal, because I realized trying to do that every day, there were some days where I just wanted to shower, read my book, and have tea, and journaling was like one more thing on my head, so I'm not going to do that. But nonetheless, I always sit there and I meditate. Am I great at it? Do I do it for a long time? No, but I do it, and I do it my own way, whether that's eyes open, laying in bed, noises going around you. But those little pieces are there. And what you start to see after that is that, yes, you can do some of the things you could do before, but can you complain that you're not getting enough sleep and binge watch, a new season of your favorite show on Netflix? No, you can't, so it's like, okay, like, something has to be crossed out for now. Or lessened for now, like, maybe just watch one show and call it quits at 11, because your kid's going to wake up at 5. And they don't care, they just want to spend time with you. So what are you doing? And that's just how, my wife and I are the same. Like, we past couple months, we've kind of freaked our own selves out. We're 43 and 41 about, what simple aches and pains, like, that we, if these happened in our 20s, we'd be like, oh, fine. Like, it's nothing. But we're like, we go deep into our heads. We're like, well, we're not going to be there for our kids. What happens? We can't pick them up. And it's like, hold on. We have to just take care of ourselves. That's what our bodies are telling us. And so if you listen to your body and your mind, you'll find that one simple thing that you can do consistently, and it grows from there. Yes. Whether that's reading a book, at the end of the night, or having that cup of tea, or writing in a journal, whatever that one simple thing, that was always in your routine before, start with that. And, the rest of your self-care routine comes back, and you realize something that may not have been important before, whatever that is. But, in the end, like, they do need you, but they need you in a way that you're probably not thinking of. They don't need you to necessarily be the one that does, all this, that, and the other thing. They need you to just be mentally strong and physically strong in your own way, but not necessarily, how you're thinking,
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So before we go, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to fathers considering or transitioning into a stay-at-home parent?
Oh, man. Well, the advice that I wish that I was definitely given, or maybe not even just given, but, made aware of, is that you're going to have this internal struggle with it. Whether that's, you're the guy that goes to work 9 to 5 and comes home, or you are the stay-at-home dad, that you're going to have an internal struggle with it too. They just don't tell you necessarily, like, what that is, right? Or that you're even, like, that is even a thing. You're just supposed to be the dad and be strong, and you can have your own meltdown, whatever you want to call it. That's okay. That you're going to struggle with this, and that's all right as a dad to struggle too. And that might be the rest of your life with it. That doesn't mean that it cripples you.
Right.
Hopefully if it does, you do something more, but that just means that there's going to be this constant, like, thought process going on that to bettering yourself. And for me, and I think that's just how I was raised, thankfully. I know that's not everybody that's fortunate, but I'm very introspective. I'm very aware of those things. And I find beauty in that, that I get a chance at 43, and not by any means am I calling myself old, but I get a chance at 43 to still learn something about myself mentally. Holy crap. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not anything Well, I shouldn't say all I did was have a kid. All I did was have a kid, and that's another one. But like,
But that's a lot, though.
it is.
Look at it as nothing, but it's a
they
lot.
tell you that, like, these things are going to change. Like, it's really in the end, like, pardon me, like the stupid stuff, like your sleep. Like, you're not going to have the same diet or work a routine or get to watch this. That, like, who cares if that changed? Like, what's going to really change is your mind.
Oh.
And the way you process life. And if you really let it happen, it's wonderful. Does that mean it's not going to frustrate you along the way? Absolutely not. Like, it's going to frustrate every moment. But when you get a chance to really think about, like, that's what's going to happen, you also get the chance to sit there and go, oh man, like that kid just taught me how to slow down. Like, I mean, I'll give you one last example is the way I come home with them, whether it's, me and my son in the afternoon by ourselves, or it's a day where I have both of them in the afternoon. I don't do a thing with them when I come home. I'm in the room. I'm not on my phone. I'm sitting, nearby on the floor. But I am not asking them 1,000 questions. I'm not even interested in playing with them. But if they ask me, I will. But otherwise, I just get to sit back and like watch their own little stories unfold and talk about whatever, about it. And to me, that's beautiful. That I'm not doing anything. Like I'm not trying to fill the space with anything at all other than just them being there. But would I have done that as an adult when I came home? No, I would have scrolled on the phone or watched something on TV or, felt like I needed to do this, that, and the other thing. But no, I'm sitting on the floor watching my kids just enjoy their life, and so that right there is like a microcosm for everything. It's just what's getting you to slow down and just enjoy your life, whether you have kids or not. And when you find that thing, don't let go of it.
Oh, good way to end. When you find that thing, don't let go of it. Oh, thank you so much, JD. I feel like I was in therapy when that was good.
You're very welcome.
Yes. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're quite welcome anytime.
What is it to be a stay-at-home parent? I'm going to change it from my dad. Stay-at-home parent. And I'm hoping even from listening to you, people will start to ask dads, fathers, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? That's important. It's important to do so because we do care.
Yeah.
We need to show fathers and dads that we care. We care about you. We care about your mental health. We don't just care about you when we need something.
Absolutely.
That's important. So thank you so much again. I truly enjoyed the conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. JD, do you want to tell people where is it that they can find you?
Yeah, very easy actually. Even though it sounds like I sound like I had a big resume there when you started, which is wonderful. It is very simple though. So my whole speaking for everything comes down to my love of storytelling and the things that we can learn by just sharing our story. And you can find all of what I do at fragilemoments.org, whether that's being a part of my life coaching services, to just having a chat, or being a part of the community and listening to me ramble on 3 podcasts. It's all in a lovely umbrella. Because I hate when it's like, you have people that are like, I do this, that, and the other thing, and you're following these links, and it's like, well, hold on, like I just want to find this one thing you just mentioned.
Right.
I like to make it easy for people. So yeah, so fragilemoments.org.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Come say hello anytime.
Yes, go say hello to him, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing you. It's vulnerable. I appreciate that. And I appreciate how in tune you are with your emotions and your feelings.
Thank you.
Love it. Thank you so much again. And thank you so much to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you. Bam, bam,